All right, so hello and a very warm good morning to every one of you. Hello and a very warm good morning. So, good morning, Prithvi. Good morning, Sachin. Good morning, Prithvi. Good morning, Sachin. Just one moment. All right, so yes, then let's start with the today's session, my dear friends. Okay, okay. So then let's continue. So, so, all right. So once again, guys, in the previous session, what we had discussed is that in the previous sessions, we had discussed on the, you know, on the modern Indian history. Okay. On the modern Indian history, we discussed that. And today we shall be discussing something that is going to be ahead of the modern Indian history. Okay. So that is what we shall be doing today. Okay. So let's start the today's session, my dear friends. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So, yes. All right. So let us start with this session. Okay. So guys, in the up till now, what have we seen? Okay, let me just give you a brief background to it as to what we have done up till now. Okay. So here what we have seen is that, see, there is one particular thing known as the Indian nationalism which had started. The Indian nationalism, it had started around the time period of 1830s, means post 1830s. And what is nationalism? Nationalism, it was a scenario wherein the people started to get united and the various demands they were put in front of the Britishers. And these demands, they can be known as the political demands, economic demands, social demands, and all of these demands. Okay. Now, in order to further these demands, we are seeing that various associations were created. Okay. And these associations, they started to be created from 1830s. However, these associations that were created in 1830s, okay, so these associations, they were basically, regional in nature. Now, because they were regional in nature, they had certain issues. They could not fulfill all of those particular demands. And because they could not fulfill all of those particular demands, what is going to happen? Okay, is that they are going to get suppressed. So from the 1830s till the 1885, there were multiple regional institutions, associations that were created all over the India. However, they, because of their regionality, their demands, they were also regional, and that is why they were not that united. And that is when till 1885 these people had understood that, the political people had understood that because of our disunity, our demands are not being fulfilled by the Britishers. So that is when there was a demand to create a pan India level united political association, and that is going to be the Indian National Congress. So the Indian National Congress, when we talk on this, okay, the Indian National Congress, it was created by the time period of 1885, December 1885. Now, when the Indian National Congress was created, the founder, we very well know, okay, it is going to be Alan Octavian Hume. So, when this association was created, the INC was created in 1885, for the first time, the INC, it is going to meet in the area of Bombay. Now see, these are the notes. Okay, these are the notes, and you can go through the notes. Okay, I will get them uploaded also. I will get them uploaded. Okay, so you can also get the notes. Means just give me some time. I'll just upload this also. Okay, so currently just being, you just understand whatever I'm telling. Okay, because it needs to be understood. Okay, now when we are talking here, what do we understand is that the first session of the INC, it was conducted in Bombay, and it is going to be known as the Gokuldas Tejpal Bhavan. Okay, the Gokuldas Tejpal Bhavan. In that, around 72 non-official non-official Indian members are going to meet. Okay, 72 non-official Indian members met in the first session of INC at Bombay. Remember this, non-official I am telling. Okay, there were two types of people. One is going to be official and another is going to be non-official. Now, who are the official? It is the people who are associated with the government. Who are the non-official? The people who are not associated with the government. For example, the political people not associated with government. Okay, so in totality, it is assumed that in the first INC session, a total of 100 members met in the Gokuldas Tejpal Bhavan, from which 72 they were non-official Indian members, and the 28 they were official members. Official members means what? It is going to be the people associated with the government. The people associated with the government. Now, when we talk, okay, when I'm telling that even 28 official members were present in the first INC session, what can we assume from that particular scenario? What can we assume? That maybe the British government, it was also supporting the INC. British government was supporting the INC. Okay. So if I have to tell you in crux, so from 1885 till 1887 or 8, the British government, it initially supported the INC. Okay. And one reason for its support was that the Britishers thought that the INC would not be acting or demanding things against the Britishers. So that is why. However, from 1887, 1888, these nationalistic leaders who were there in the INC, they became much more vocal in nature. And because they became much more vocal in nature, it became a issue for the Britishers. And that is why the Britishers started suppressing these Indian nationalistic leaders. Okay, and they started giving them various names. Various names such as the INC leaders, they were called by various names by the Britishers. And these particular people, they are going to be known as what? The seditious Brahmins, okay, or the disloyal Babus. These were the names that were attributed by the Britishers to whom? To the Indian nationalistic leaders, whereas Congress was termed as factory of sedition. Factory of sedition. Okay, so this is what we understand. Now, what do you understand by sedition? Sedition means Deshdroh, if I tell it in Hindi, or anti-national. That is sedition. So, if I have to tell you, so initially the government supported, but later on the government did not support, and these were the reasons because the Congress became much more vocal at that point of time. Okay, now simultaneously, when I tell you, okay, now let us look at some of the major things of the INC aspect. Okay, so we up till now know that the INC for the first time met in it was created in December 1885. The founder was AO Hume, and the first session it is going to be in Bombay, wherein these were going to be the members. Okay, now whenever we talk on these members of the INC, okay, so these particular members, they are going to be the literate class. The literate class. What I mean to say is physicians, doctors, lawyers, zamindars, the elite class basically. Initially it was the elite class, Later on the INC, it went on to accumulate the all the classes. Okay, untouchables, Dalits, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, higher, lower, everyone was inclusive in the INC. So that is what we understand here, okay, on these members. Now, when we talk on some of the aspects of INC, so INC, okay, that we talk on the INC's first session. INC's first session, it was conducted here. Now, when we talk on the sessions of INC, the INC sessions, they were conducted every year from the time period of 1885 till 1947. Okay. However, was it actually conducted every year? The norm, the norm of the INC, it was to conduct the INC sessions every year in the month of December, and it is going to be for 3 days. They had set a norm. But was it actually conducted every year from 1885 till 1947? No. Whenever there is going to be certain, emergency time period, for example, the World War One, which was fought from 1914 to 1918. So it was not conducted at that point of time because it was an emergency situation. Similarly, there were some other time periods also from 40 to 43. So then also the INC sessions were not conducted. So in spite of having the norm to conduct it every year for 3 days in December, it was not generally conducted every year, but majorly it had been conducted. Okay. Then it was conducted for 3 days. Now the question was, what was to be the location where they would conduct this INC session for 3 days? Now, this INC session, whenever I'm telling for 3 days, it is going to be the general session I'm talking. Like you might have seen the Reliance shareholders. The Reliance is generally having every year an annual general meeting of its shareholders, or in every 6 months. So that in that all the shareholders are going to participate in the meeting. Similarly, there is also going to be this. Okay, similarly, there is also going to be this particular session. It was an annual general session because Congress was a pan-India level party. So people from all over the country, they were the members of the Congress, and they are going to meet on the decided location for these 3 days. So thousands and thousands of people are going to be coming to that location. Now, when we talk on the thousands and thousands of people, so what do we understand? What was to be the location? So they once again had a norm that every year, every year they would select a different location, different location. That means if this year it was conducted in Bombay city, the next year it would be conducted in Lucknow. The next year it would be conducted in Banaras. Okay, like that. So they had this thing. However, this was once again not a norm. It was not like if first year Bombay city was the location, so second year Bombay city cannot be the location. It can be the location. Okay, it can be the location if they decided. So they just decided that every year they wanted to pick up new locations. And the reason for that new location picking, it was to, increase the political awareness amongst people. Okay, political awareness amongst people. Now, what do I mean by this? For example, if there is an A area and then there is a B area. In B area, there is political party offices and everything is there. Okay, two, three political parties offices there. So people would be aware, right, that what are their political rights, what is politics, what are political parties, what is a, system of government and all of those things. But the A area, it does not have any party, means there is no party office and all. So obviously people here would not be aware of their political rights and everything. But just imagine if here there is a party session which is conducted. So obviously people of this A area would be thinking that what is this happening? What is this meeting all about? Then they would get to know, oh, there is something known as a political party. What is a political party? What does it do? Oh, it is fighting for our rights. Oh, what is rights? Do we have any rights? Oh, the Britishers, we have to ask so many rights. So that is what was to be understood. Okay, so this is what the INC sessions agenda was. That every year they wanted to pick a new location because their aim was to increase political awareness amongst people. So that is what they generally did. Okay, now here when they selected this new location, means or whenever they selected the location, okay, now after selecting their location, when a session was conducted, for example, now, this particular session, after its conductation, just understand that this is the INC session. There are the various members that are this session is conducted. So, obviously, there is going to be a chairperson here. That chairperson could be any male or female, whoever had the capacity. But the question was that what were the conditions for the chairperson to be appointed? Now all of these things, my dear friends, it is very important for the examination. INC is asked in the examination, and examination asks you in a conceptual manner. Okay, so that is what we understand. Okay, now when we talk here the condition, there were certain conditions laid down for a chairman to be appointed. Now what were those conditions? There were generally two conditions. The first condition was that the chairman, okay, would not belong to the province where the session was being conducted. For example, if the session was conducted in Bombay city, okay, so anyone who was born in the province of Bombay means the Bombay state. There was Bombay city, it was the city, Bombay state was different. So anyone who was born in the Bombay state, they would not be eligible to become the chairman of that session. Okay, and the chairmanship, it generally was for the tenure of 1 year. Okay, it was for the tenure of 1 year. Now, this did not mean that after 1 year, that same person could not have become the chairman. They could have become. The only thing is that they should have had the majority. So, the first condition was that anyone in the Bombay province could not become, means anyone belonging to that province could not become the chairman. That's it. Okay, so if for example there was Surat, Surat also was a part of Bombay province. So anyone born in Bombay province could not become the chairman. That was the general idea. Okay, so this is what we understand in the chairmanship. Now, what was the election of the chairmanship? Means how was the chairman elected? Chairman was elected through the elections. Okay, elections, that means the party generally voted. For example, in today's time, as you can witness that there are BJP, TMC and INC and all. So how are these people elected, the leaders? Because of the voting within the party. So similarly here also that voting happened. Now when we talk about INC, okay, so the INC, it started in 1885, okay, and it is going to be there till 1947. Okay, so when we are talking about the pre-INC, when we are talking about the pre-INC, in the pre-INC, there was nationalism, okay, there was nationalism that was there in India. Okay, nationalism means once again the demands being asked from the Britishers and political associations created. However, the nationalism here, it had their own limitations. And what do we know on history? History is a beautiful relation of cause and effect. Okay, that means the yesterday would have a certain cause and today would be that effect. Now, this effect could be the cause of today and then it would have an effect tomorrow. Okay, now this effect would again be the cause of today and it would have an effect tomorrow. So, history is what? Whatever is happening today, it is because of the actions that have been taken in the past. So, past is the cause, future is the effect. Then, this effect could be the cause of another effect. That effect could be the cause of another effect. Okay. So, the INC was created because of certain causes that happened in the past, and the effect was INC. Now, when the effect was INC, so when INC was created, so the actions that the INC took, just understand, INC was a political organization. Okay, it was not a social organization. Remember that examination will ask you. So, because it was a political organization, it put up the political demands of the Britishers, and secondly, it also put up the economic demands of the Indians, but it did not put up social demands. Okay, so here for the social demands, there was a social outfit within the Congress itself, means a social representative of Congress that was a separate organization. So here when we are talking about the INC, so the nationalism, that means the activities, nationalistic activities that happened between 1885 till 1947, it was under the purview of INC. Now, these nationalistic activities, okay, this nationalistic activities, it was conducted by whom? It was conducted by nationalistic leaders. Nationalistic leaders. Nationalistic leaders basically means the people who were, working for the Indians, like that. Now, these nationalistic leaders within the INC, they could be divided into two, they could be divided into two categories. Now, which were those two categories? The first one is going to be the moderates. Second one was known as extremist. Okay, they were moderates and they were extremist. Now, when we talk on the moderates and extremists, what are the moderates and extremists? So, just remember this. Okay, there is one person who who has beautifully explained it. Okay, so if I explain this to you today, yesterday, tomorrow. Now, it was Bal Gangadhar Tilak Sahab. What had he told? He had told that, guys, my audios are proper. Prithvi, 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 Sushmita, is my audios proper, guys? Let me know, please. It isn't breaking, right? It isn't breaking, right? Okay. So, are you guys watching it from the dashboard or from YouTube? What is the idea? Okay, dashboard, dashboard. All right. Okay, so then let's continue. Double the time, voice is repeating. Double the time. Okay, so yes, so most probably, I have spoken to the team. Actually, the session was already scheduled. Okay, so once again, I'll be talking as to what we can do. All right, why? Because you guys can also understand that you know how much even frustrated a bit I become. Why? Because there is always, if you guys means my camera, actually the issue is not on the camera and all. Okay, so there is a technical issue only. My camera, it would be arriving today or by max tomorrow. Okay, however, that is something that is not associated with the audio. Okay, it is not associated with the audio. So the audio is something that is a different. I guess there is some technical aspect only. Okay, in spite of my studio again being set up. Okay, so it would be, it has to be solved anyway. So let's say the team is already working on it. Okay, so we'll do something on it. We'll do something on it. Yes, yes, yes. By tomorrow it will be done. Most probably, I'm expecting it today. My camera, it will come today. Okay. So by tomorrow we'll start it up from the board aspect. We'll start it up. Okay, like that. All right. So let's start back with the moderates and extremists. Okay. Just understand this aspect. So when we are talking, okay, the nationalistic leaders, they can be divided into two categories. So it is going to be the moderates and the extremist. Bal Gangadhar Tilak Saab, he had explained the moderates and extremists in a very beautiful manner. Now, What was that he had explained? So he had told that moderates, the moderates of today, they were extremist of yesterday. Okay, they were extremist of yesterday. Similar to the extremist of today would be the moderates of tomorrow. Okay, so it is basically like this. The moderates of today, they were extremists of yesterday. Similar to the extremist of today would be the moderates of tomorrow. What do we understand from this? It is understood that whenever we talk on some categories, okay, just understand there are two categories. One is radical, another is liberal. Now, when we talk on history, what do we understand in this? So, radical, what does it mean? That when some ideas, when radical, that means that, where was I? Yes. Radical, that means that it is ideas. Okay, ideas that might be not, digestible in nature. Whenever we talk in modern history context, these are the ideas that are non-digestible. Okay, non-digestible. Whereas liberal, it means that the ideas, they are now digestible. For example, let's take the LGBTQ, okay, example, and whatever is ahead. Okay, I am unaware. So here when we talk on the this example, so in the time period of 1980s, okay, so was the society able to digest the LGBTQ? No, the society was not able to digest. So imagine one person taking a placard and telling LGBTQ, okay, or the pride community. So the people would not have been able to digest it. So this person would have been considered what? Radical. Radical, that means extremist. So whenever a new idea is being started, that was not up till now the norm, or that was not up till now understood or grasped by the people, that idea would be considered radical in nature. However, by the time period of 2020s, okay, if this same person once again picks up the plank card and talks on LGBTQ, so now the people, because they have been aware of the LGBTQ since the past 20, 30, 40 years. Now they have become a bit lenient towards that idea. So because of that, now what happens is they could digest, or they can digest that idea. So that is when this person becomes liberal. Why? Because the people have been associated with that idea for for some time, and now putting that idea in front of the people will not be shocked. They'll be okay. But when I'm putting an idea which the people might have heard for the first time, it would be undigestible to them and they would be shocked. And that is what we considered radical. Similarly here, when we are talking, okay, let's take the time period of 1820s and 30s. Okay, during this time period, the Britishers, they were very much powerful in India. They had majorly annexed major areas of India. Now, at that point of time, demanding something from the Britishers, it would have been considered what? Radical. Okay, because we are demanding, let it be anything. Okay, political or anything. For example, Indianization of services or certain rights. If we are demanding that, it would be like the Britishers and the common people, they had never seen that we are demanding something from the Britishers. So that demands in 1820s, 30s would be radical. But that same demand by the time period of 1860s, it would not be considered radical. It would be considered liberal. Why? Because the people, they have been associated with this demand for around 30 to 40 years. People know, right? That people have been asking for these demands. So people have grasped it. Even the Britishers have grasped it. So that is why this same set of people, initially they were known as extremist, but when the people started digesting it, it was known as moderate. Similarly, when there are the moderates, okay, during the 1860s, they are demanding something, but there might be some other people who are telling during the 1860s only that no, moderates, whatever you are demanding, the Britishers would not fulfill it. Rather, we have to do much more things. Rather, we need to demand more and more things. So those people, they would be known as extremists who were there in 1860s, who are demanding more and more that the people would not have, okay, the people would not have heard of. Okay, so that is what we generally understand here. So this is the moderates and extremists. So it is not like only when the moderates are eliminated, then the extremists come up. No, the moderates and extremists, they prevail simultaneously. Okay, so they are going to prevail simultaneously. This is what we understand here. So this is what Bal Gangadhar Tilak had told. The extremists of yesterday, moderates of today, and the extremists of today, moderates of tomorrow. Okay, and simultaneously they are going to prevail according to the time period. Now, when we talk about the nationalistic leaders of INC, okay, they can be divided into two parts: moderates and extremists. We very well know what is the moderate and what is the extremist. So the moderate nationalism, that means the nationalism under the moderates, it was from the time period of 1885 till 1905. Whereas the nationalism under extremist, it was from 1905 till the time period of 1919. Okay. After 1919, there is going to be the Gandhian nationalism. Gandhian nationalism that is going to be coming in India. Okay, why? Because Gandhi, he is going to return in India by the time period of 1915. And after that, his nationalism is going to generally be there. Okay, so this is what we generally understand. Okay, this is what we generally understand. Okay, now when we talk on this aspect itself, when we talk on this aspect itself, so during this 20 years, during these 20 years, when the INC was created, okay, INC, so this INC, here what do we know is that here they are going to be talking on the moderate form of nationalism and extremist form of nationalism. Now, when we just categorize the moderate nationalist and extremist nationalist, there is one more additional thing that I want to talk on. Okay, then you would be understanding this thing in detail. Okay, so here when I'm talking about these various categories of people in the Indian area, we can categorize them into moderates, extremist, and revolutionary. Means the people who have certain demands. The people who are demanding, they can be categorized into three categories: moderates, extremist, and revolutionary. Now, on what basis can we categorize these particular people? On what basis are we categorizing these people? Guys, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Today is the first class that we are doing or has started before. Sushmita, the actually this is means it has been started, but you will have access to those lectures as well. Okay, but you will have access to those lectures as well. Okay, you do not need to worry on that, and we shall be taking it up ahead also. Means this is something that just continues and goes on and goes on. Okay, because the history is not changing. Okay, so it is just going to be continuing. Okay, now coming back to this. Okay, coming back to this particular thing, just one moment. All right, okay. So, yes. Now, here when we are talking on these particular, the various categories of people, okay. So, we can divide the various categories of people into what? Into moderates, extremist, and revolutionary. Now, on what basis are we categorizing them? We are categorizing them on the methodology that they had adopted to get their demands fulfilled. Okay. Now, what was the methodology that these people are going to adopt to? So, the moderates, they were non-violent people. That means they got their demands for, or they demanded for their demands through a non-violent manner. Non-violent plus constitutional. Non-violent plus constitutional manner. Whereas the extremists, they are going to demand their demands through a non-violent plus extra constitutional manner. Okay, extra constitutional manner. Whereas the revolutionary, they were violent and they were non-constitutional. Okay, just understand this one thing. Whenever we are talking on the revolutionaries, what do we understand? The revolutionaries, they were the people who are going to be, who are going to be such as there was Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru. Okay. So what do we understand here? That they were revolutionaries, Ashfaqullah Khan, Ram Prasad Bismil, Rajendra Lahiri. So they were revolutionary people who wanted demands, who wanted their demands fulfilled, but they adopted the violent aspect. Okay, that was one thing. Now, did British impose any constitutional rights for Indians in the British era? Impose. What is the understanding here, Prithvi? Means it is under non-understandable. Impose any constitutional rights means or bring any constitutional rights for the people. Do you mean that? So, coming back, just write it up. I'll explain it after I'm done with this. So the moderates. Now just understand one thing, that the revolutionary people, okay, they are going to get their demands fulfilled through a violent mechanism. However, and also they did not believe in the constitutional structure that was prevalent during the British time period. Now, many of you would think that was there a constitution that was prevalent during the British time period? Because the constitution came up after India got independence, right? So, yes, there was a constitutional structure that was prevalent. Because what do we understand by a constitution? A constitution is nothing but a document that contains laws and regulations that help the state govern the people. Okay, so that is a constitution. Laws and regulations that help the state govern the people. So similarly, yes, at that point of time, there was laws and regulations, although those laws and regulations they were brought by the Britishers. So that is why we can say that there was a constitutional structure prevalent at that point of time as well during the British era. Okay, so they had a constitutional structure. Now everyone had to abide to that constitutional structure, that is laws and regulations created by the Britishers. So the moderates, if they did not like any particular law or regulation, okay, they are going to demand from the Britishers that we do not like this law and regulation, kindly change it. But what is going to be the method that they are going to adopt? They are going to adopt a non-violent constitutional method. What does this mean? The Britishers, whenever they are creating a law, they would also tell that if anyone has any issue with this law, this is the mechanism that the people can come to the British through. So the Britishers, they were also laying down certain mechanisms. That means go through the courts, okay, write letters to the Britishers, okay. So like that, what happened is the methodology of the moderates in this section, it is going to be what? Petitions. Write petitions to the Britishers that the law is not good. Do prayers to the Britishers. That means, talk to the Britishers and do write memorandas to the Britishers. Okay, so this was the methodology. So this methodology, it was constitutional in nature because the Britishers told that if you have any issues, follow these methodologies which is mentioned in the constitution. In contrast, the extremists, they were also non-violent. They did not believe in violence because both these people, they were political people. Okay. Now, even the extremists, they were non-violent, but their methodology to demand a particular thing, it is going to be what? It is going to be through extra constitutional. That means that the moderates had fully abiding the constitution. The moderates fully believed in the constitution, whereas the extremists, they believed in the constitution partially. Okay. And they are telling that not only through this that we can get our demands fulfilled, but something that is not written in the constitution also. By doing that in a non-violent manner, we can get our demands fulfilled. That means through strikes, okay, through boycott. Will the British law allow boycott or strikes? Obviously not. Any constitution does not allow that. However, they were doing the boycott and strike in a non-violent manner. Okay, and because this was not mentioned in the constitution, but yet they were doing it, so they were extra constitutional. But the revolutionary people, they did not believe in the constitution only that was created by the Britishers. They did not believe in the laws and regulations of the Britishers. So that is what is known as moderates, extremist, and revolutionary. Now, when we talk in the INCs, nationalism done by the INC, so that nationalism time period is this basically. So during 1885 till 1905, the moderates, they are going to be, demanding various political, economic, okay, political and economic demands from the Britishers till 1905. However, by 1905, a particular event happened that is going to be the partition of Bengal. Now, in the partition of Bengal, the moderates, they were writing petitions, prayers, and everything. Now, the Britishers, they were, totally adapted to the petition prayer. So, the Britishers didn't do anything. So, at that point of time, the people realized that the moderates, they would be unable to do many things. So, it was the extremists who believed in the extra constitutional level of strikes and all through a non-violent manner. It is they who could put pressure on the Britishers. So from 1905 onwards, there was one movement that was known as the Swadeshi and boycott movement. And in this particular movement, the extremists carried it out. And from 1905, the Indian National Congress activities, it was generally means the Indian nationalism, it was generally dominated by the activities of the extremist. So here, why have we categorized it into these years? 1885 till 1905. Why? Because Indian nationalism during this point of time, it was the methodology that was utilized, it was moderate methodology. However, after 1905, there was a transition into extremist methodology. That is why for this time period we are saying extremist nationalism. Whereas prior to this we are saying moderate nationalism. Okay, so that is how things are going to be there. So this is what I have written here. Okay, here I have written on the INC. Okay, this is the INC. Now, in the INC, what was the nationalism of INC? Okay, there is moderate, there is extremist phase. Now, during the moderate phase, examination would ask you that who were the moderate leaders at that point of time. Okay, now you will have to remember this, kind of mug this up. And what was the nature and characteristics of the national movement? That means during this time period, what were the works that was carried out by the moderate people? Okay, that means these particular leaders in the political and economic level. Now, when we talk here, we know that the moderates, they were non-violent, they were constitutional, and their methodology was petition, prayer, and memoranda. So, when we talk on that, okay, so here when we are talking, just remember this, okay. Um, Here, let me just explain you this also. Guys, did you understand up till now? Whatever we discussed? Did you understand? Is it something that is, that it is heavy or something like that to comprehend to? Because see, my agenda is that I explain things to you, okay? You understand it conceptually, and the document is something that you can read, okay? It is also in detailed manner. Okay, so that is what I generally believe, because if I go teaching through the document, it becomes a difficult thing. Wherever facts is there, the understanding through the document is there. Yes, ancient and medieval, they were quite easier than modern. It is. Okay, however, here, but the main trick here is that examination will ask you questions on the modern. Okay, medieval, they generally ask less questions, and this Ancient they ask more, but the most is going to be from the modern one only. Okay, now let's start. When we talk on the moderates and extremists, okay, we can categorize them. The first aspect is that on the methodology and constitutional aspect only. Non-violent, constitutional, petition, prayer, propaganda, memoranda, non-violent, extra constitutional, and riots, okay, strikes, boycott, whatever that was not mentioned in the constitution in a non-violent manner, that was extra constitutional. Their social base, the moderates, their social base, the moderates they were known as early nationalist, extremists they were known as later nationalist. Okay, because they arrived in the later on time. The moderate social basis that they belong to the upper middle classes living in towns and cities, whereas extremists they belong to the educated middle class. Okay, that was from the middle class families. The moderates they were Western educated in nature, so they believed in the Western mindset. Whereas these people they had a mixture of both the knowledge, Western plus Indian, and they believed that the Indian system or Indian cultural heritage was much more superior compared to the British. The moderates believed in the England's providential mission. Providential mission meaning you means the Britishers had come to India to civilize the Indians. Okay, so they believe that the Britishers they all had always told that they had the white man's burden. That means it was the burden of the white man to civilize the non-white. So that was the thing that the Britishers always preached. So the moderates believed that the Britishers would help in development of the Indians. That was what they believed. Whereas the extremists thought that no, the providential mission was just an illusion. The Britishers were just here to extract wealth, to loot, to destroy the civilization. That was what the extremists thought. Moderates believed that they need to have political connections with the British, okay, in order for the political, economic, social, cultural development of India. But the extremists thought that if we had the political connections, it would lead to much more exploitation of the Indians. Means if we had connections, we'll have to sever the connection. We'll have to eliminate the connection between the India and British. Only then we would be able to stop the exploitation. The moderates professed loyalty to the British crown. The extremists thought that British crown was unworthy of Indian loyalty. Then they believed. Remember this point. The moderates believed that the national movement it should be limited only to the educated class. That means the common people they should not participate in the particular movements, and it should be only the political community that should write petitions, prayers, and demand political things. From this, we can understand that the moderates generally thought that the masses did not have the capacity. Whereas the extremists, on the other hand, they believed that the masses had the capacity and the masses could carry out great things. So they told that even the masses should be included in the political movements. That was the extremist mindset. The moderates, they wanted only certain demands from the Britishers to get fulfilled. Whereas the extremists believed that we are not going to, satisfy with demands. We want full autonomy. They were not talking on freedom. They demanded Swaraj, but Swaraj had two interpretations. One was self-government, another was independence. Okay, we'll talk on this, but the extremists initially did not demand independence. They demanded self-government. That means everything in India, all the political or all the governance institutions, everyone would be Indian, excluding the viceroy. Okay, means India will be under the British, but there will be autonomy. So that was what they were telling. But the moderates believe that a little bit demands, if fulfilled, then that is okay. And the moderates believed in constitutional methods only, whereas they believed in extra constitutional like boycott and passive resistance. Okay, because constitution did not allow strikes, but extra constitutional told that you can do strikes. So that is what was generally meant here. Okay, that is what we generally understand in this context. Okay, now Here, what do we understand is that, so this is the moderates and extremists. Now, what happened is that the moderates, okay, the moderates during the initial 20 years, okay, now this is what we just understood below, okay. Now, moderates, they are going to carry out the economic works and the political work. And they are going to tell the Britishers, means they are going to demand, all of these are going to be demands from the Britishers that is going to be asked by these people. Now, what were the demands? They are going to say that, that you Britishers, means the work, see, during these 20 years, whatever works they are going to do, that means they are going to also create awareness amongst the people that on the economic and political front, okay, whenever they are demanding something from the Britishers, obviously they would be demanding, okay, the things that would be having gaps, right? If a person is, earning and very well to do, will they demand something from the government? Not that much. But if the person does not have anything, so then they will demand, right? Okay, so what do we understand? We demand only in the areas where we find gaps. So these intellectual moderate people, what would be their political and economic demands? Where there were gaps, they would be demanding those things, right? And when they were demanding those things, the people would also get to know, right? It is not like that they will write it in a closed envelope, they'll seal it and they'll send it to the British. No. What they will do? They will write those petitions. They will also tell the people that we are demanding these things. So, here in 20 years, the people became much more aware on the economic, on the political aspects that were there in the time period. That what were the issues with the political rights, issues with the political laws, which laws are exclusionary, what can we do to get the laws, what type of laws we actually need, what do we, how can there be political development. So, all of these, they were done by the moderates. They were suggesting the Britishers and they were also demanding from the Britishers. Similarly, in the economic also, the Britishers' one-way trade policy, okay, the zamindari, the peasant issue, okay, so all of those things led to a lot of poverty. The exploitation done by the Britishers, extraction of wealth led to a lot of poverty, deindustrialization, that means reduction in industries, reduction in capital in India. So these moderate people, they rose those demands that Britishers kindly take note of this, because of your activities things are getting destroyed here. So kindly do not do these things. So those things they were told to the Britishers, simultaneously awareness was also created. So the people, they became very much aware. So what was the idea? Now they were fulfilling the agenda of the INC. That means to create a nationalistic awareness amongst the people of the country. Okay, so that is what is there. So this is what the moderates did. Okay, and I've explained these things. Okay, so you can read this up at home. Okay, you can read this up at home. I'll get this document also uploaded. Okay, just 3 years remain. That is from 1903 till 1905. Okay, I'll take that up in the next class. I'll take that up in the next class. Did you guys understand, everyone? Did you guys understand? I'll just upload it also. Okay, so guys, I've also added the PDF. I've also added the PDF. Okay, so you can also take it. All right. Okay, then we'll keep the class for this duration only. So what I need you to do is that I need you to go through this particular document. Okay. So I have created flowcharts and everything so that it will be very much easier for you to understand things. Okay. So I will explain this up in the next class also, the 3 years till 1906. Okay, then accordingly, but prior to that, just read it up. Okay, just read it up. Okay, so then that will be all for this session. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you and Jai Hind, my dear friends. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone. Bye.